What is up, everybody? Happy Thursday. We got a huge NHL slate on our hands, and I got a different kind of show for you today. Now, in my opinion, my humble opinion, one of the reasons this show has done well for over a year now is simply because there aren't that many quality hockey shows around. And I'm not talking about those lazy ones you see on TV that still claim the Islanders are a defensive team. I'm talking about informative, quality hockey shows. And at least that's what I thought up until last year. There are actually more out there than you would think. And last year, one of you guys, believe it or not, I don't trust YouTube commenters with many things, but one of you guys said, Andy, I love what you're doing here. You got to check out this guy, Josh. He does a daily betting show with former NHLer Carlo Koliakovo, which is a great name, by the way. Sounds like he grew up next door to me. He would fit right into my 7th grade homeroom class when we were taking attendance. The class was so Italian. It sounded like it was a deli order. Like Santorini here, Belicelli here, Lucatoni here, Koliakovo. Yeah, that's me. But no, he's a Canadian anyway. But in typical Andy fashion, when you guys told me like there's another show, I was like, all right, yeah, okay, send me this. Show me this guy who's probably broadcasting from the Tropicana pool in one of those, clear visors and a cigar. But I must say, I've been paying attention to him for over a year now, and I can unequivocally say that if you enjoy betting on the NHL, I'll tell you this right now, he's better than me. And why? Because he doesn't let ego get in the way. I'll bet against Washington just to spite 9 people in the comments section. Everything I've seen from this guy is it's calculated, and it comes with good reason. And for the many Canadians who watch this show, he's one of your own. And how do I know that? Because the 2 public pictures I've seen of him feature a Montreal Expos hat and a Toronto Blue Jays hat. And are you saying, oh, that's prejudging? How could you judge someone like that? Well, what do you think he thought when he watched my show? He probably clicked on it and was like, what is this, a Jersey Shore recap? I'm not watching this. But, and this is coming straight from the source, he works over at Covers. He's a specialist at looking beyond the betting basics like spreads and totals, and he breaks down those secondary odds offerings. And just like me, he does NFL, NHL, and he has insightful articles and always entertaining video clips, which is obviously why another reason I'm a fan. But translation for all you Dans out there, you 9 to 5 regular bettors, he doesn't just, and pardon my French if you're listening, he's not a raw dogger like all of you. He gets in there and he finds like the weaknesses to attack specific NHL lines. If he sees a line out there and he knows it's got like a weak right knee, he kicks that thing all day long as change starts falling out of it. So without further ado, I have a policy. I don't pronounce last names because I just don't want that clip of me ever mispronouncing a last name. So Josh, thank you for coming on to my show. Oh. And I just want these skeptical pricks out there to know. So, I'm sorry again. I just assume people have known me a long time, but there's no money exchanges. There's no, Josh, you give me $20, come here. We've talked for a while now. I'm a real supporter of what he does. So I asked to have him on. And that's the deal. I'm trying to help you people, just like I did last year, where Caesars added those point props, and then I had pricks accusing me of being a shill for Caesars rather than just trying to give you guys something good. That's what I'm doing once again. So, Josh, thank you for coming on, man.
What an intro. I'm actually so excited to be on here. It's the production of this show and the content is top notch. The community is amazing. The comment section's hilarious. But I've never been called not raw dogging it, and that is the funniest. That's the funniest intro that I've heard in a long time. Andy, how are you, pal?
I'm doing all right. Well, somebody got angry at me. I was like, "Hey, both teams over 1.5," and they're like, "No, man, we need those raw dog picks." So I'm like, "All right, well, we'll
funny
do
thing
our
about
best."
Those raw dog picks are the more money that goes into those markets, the sides, the totals, the puck line. The more money that goes into it, the more efficient they are and the less value they are. Like people laugh at people who like, oh, I only bet, I don't know, Puerto Rican second half overs in the second league hockey or in soccer. And you know what? Those lines probably have a better edge than trying to bet NHL totals or NHL money lines.
I got to say, when it comes to the NHL, and this is something that you're great at, we both look at the NFL. the NFL, everybody knows everything. You go to sites like Roto World, Fantasy Life, or even if you play in a league, it's all chronicled there. If Kenneth Walker goes down, every single person watching this video who isn't even an NFL fan knows you got to scoop up Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet is going to be the benefactor of that. But with the NHL, it's this weird mix of, you get some news there, you get line combinations there, and you have to follow random beat reporters and know who to get what info from. It's not easy to aggregate all that information. Yeah. And you do a great job at finding great bets with what I like to call trickle-down snakeonomics, where, this guy's been pulled from the top power play. Yeah. This beat reporter has let us know that in the morning skate, Ekman Larson, they're using a second defenseman on Florida's power play. Now you could potentially weasel an assist from him or something like that. These are things that just, they go way over people's head, because it's not, if this was the NFL, it would be secondhand nature to know those things.
Yeah, you're running to the books to beat that line 100% every time that information, it's information betting it's popular with everybody, right? And the NFL is the biggest rush to go beat the books before that line, before the money comes in and makes that line efficient. But watching the show yesterday, you were talking about guys playing the point, like, you know what I mean? To your left, to your right, squeeze in secondary assists. You see someone coming up from PP2 to PP1, Mackenzie Weegar today versus the Leafs in this example. Like, they're beautiful little spots that they don't exist in the market yet because it hasn't happened, so no one's bet it. So it's actually the simplest thing. If you're not a model guy, and it takes a lot of work to set up a model, and if you're a guy who just goes on and goes left wing lock or goes to daily faceoff and goes to check out those moves, that's the easiest thing you can do as a bettor. 15, 20 minutes. Let's see some line movement. It's obviously easier on a today slate that has 10 games compared to last night that turned into 2. But if you're doing yourself a favor, go do it. You can beat things. Like Jonathan Drouin was the perfect example. He was playing on that line for a long time with Ranton and McKinnon, and he opened at plus 120, and now he's minus 167. So if you can value what it's worth to be a number one center, PP1 guy, then you're just playing the price game basically, and it's a long season.
Yeah, 100%. And it will only be a matter of time before some of those guys, they do drastically change the prices. I mean, Brandon Montour running the point. I mean, he had endless chances yesterday. There were a couple of big saves, but it's like, this guy should not be in the plus category every game, in my opinion. But yeah, those type of things. I have a person who I think he's big into DFS, like NHL, just so he really needs to know everything. He was able to get the under on Andrei Vasilevsky wins for the season, even after it was announced that he was going to have surgery. So he got that in before they pulled it. In the NFL, that thing is the surgeon calls Goodell and lets him know that's about to happen, and Goodell calls the people. But in the NHL, of the main 4 sports, and I know that probably sounds a little weird up there in Canada because I know hockey's 1, 2, and 3. But in hockey, it's the highest likelihood you'll be able to weasel something on them, in my opinion, from what I've seen compared to the NFL and whatnot.
So it's back to that point. The less people that are betting into the market, the easier it is to get that information. I just pulled up mine. Vasilevsky under 32.5 saves. I got that maybe 2 hours. It was left up for 2 hours after the news, and it's just not a market where people are taking things down quickly because there's just not a lot. And you see guys bet hockey. It's the most difficult sport to bet on. The variance game to game is nuts. If you've ever played the game, you know that a bounce can go either way. If I ever get plus 350 for any team in hockey, whether it's Chicago, San Jose, or Anaheim this year, you almost have to play it just because of the way the game and the outcome can possibly land on. So the thing about that is later in the season, people want to bet hockey early in the season, but because it's so hard, there's less liquidity in the market later in the season because guys just stop betting it, right? They're all gung-ho at the beginning of the season, and then it's like, yeah, game 52, they're like, that's it. All-star game after that, I'm done. I'm going to go to basketball.
Yeah, and then you would think like, okay, well, it's the end of the season. Those teams who are out of it, they've mailed it in. And then you watch with the whole season on the line, the Pittsburgh Penguins on their own
Chicago
home ice.
Last year, yes.
And it wasn't there were other ones in there too. The
I think Chicago
Capitals
was
taking
plus
out,
450.
and this was after they traded Kane. It's like they were trying to tank for that number one,
Yeah.
and they win that game, fall to
Yeah.
number two. It's just, it's crazy because the people, it's a conundrum for me. I know the people, it's like they'd rather me lose on taking overs and especially winner money lines. But it's like, do I do that because that's what they want to hear? Or do I tell them the under 2.5 shots on goal from a guy who's been, it's weighing those two things.
If
But
I
I
if I
guess
looked at what people tailed me on, I would say overs consistently. No one's betting like, I don't know, like the Chicago game today. I, I don't love Chicago, obviously, and you were mentioning yesterday, like Khrushchev under 0.5 points minus 120. Pretty solid line. Chicago's only going to score 2 goals at the most. Those are angles to play, probably more profitable. But I mean, in the long run, if you're running at books and you're hitting unders, you do get tagged a bit more, and books do notice when you're betting unders as opposed to over. So if you're staying over better, your account will probably be alive for much longer.
and we have people who do that, a lot of people, because I'm sure you know this. The majority of people who watch videos, or at least the people who publicly comment on them,
Yeah.
they're looking for a rags to riches play.
Oh yeah.
And in the NFL, yeah, I've seen some of your ladder bets, your Brees Hall. My thing would be if you're a running back with Derek Carr, anybody take 10
Oh, yeah.
receptions. But in the NHL, you can't take Gabe Davis 90 plus yards. The only way I've seen, if you're going to bet like one game and you're getting a big payout, is by taking a high scoring game and putting a bunch of stuff together because it happens to be one of those wild games. So a lot of regular bettors, they probably aren't going to be flagged. Let's just put it that way. I get booed when I give unders, and there are so many potential unders on this slate that I like. So I'm sure they'll love that. I guess maybe we should talk about some of these games because it is a rather big slate. I'm assuming you have to be in Canada because I
Yeah,
saw you open your show
Eastern
yesterday.
Standard Time. So yeah, that's 7 o'clock my time.
-25 you opened up your show talking about yesterday, right?
What's that? Oh yeah, it was gross. It's cold and it's still cold and it's no fun. Kids are home today. I don't even want to go outside.
So I understand cold. Like I do. I mean, I'm from the Northeast. I went to college in windy Boston. I remember walking to class backwards because I was getting so cracked by the wind. But that's like another tier. I don't remember going outside. Like when you have to take out do you just decline taking out the garbage on a Tuesday? Like, no, we got -25 today. I'm not going out there.
Take out garbage. Someone like I lost a garbage can yesterday. You ever lose a garbage can? Like the wind blew my garbage can away, and I stole one from my neighbor. I hope he's not listening. But I thought it was mine, but they're so generic, so I took his garbage can. Thought it was mine. Sorry,
Better be
neighbor.
careful. See, down where I come from, people are sneaky. They mark their cans so they
I
know
know,
if
I
somebody
know.
stole something. You're lucky you have some nice Canadians up
It
there
was a
who
plus
don't
EV
think
move for sure.
who don't think in such a sinister fashion as you do. That's pretty funny though. So there was a postponed game here with Chicago Buffalo. You already mentioned that you're looking at some of the unders on the Blackhawks. There is something that I want you. This is what I have some theories that
Yeah.
they've never been, validated. They've never been put out there on the main tables for people to actually evaluate. Next time you get a chance, I want you to ask Carlo, if a team throws a shutout, is the 5-man unit on the ice cognizant that goalie has a shutout streak going? Because I like taking unders after shutouts because I believe that the 5-man unit is less willing to take an unnecessary risk and blow what's perceived as the goalie being in the zone. And I usually like skewing unders after shutouts. Now, granted, I don't want to do that against a team like the Oilers and stuff like that and teams that could blow it up. But a game like this, I mean, I wish it wasn't the Sabres who can just let up 8 goals on their own home ice. But like preferably, we have another one like that coming up in a little bit with Washington. Washington, a defensive team after pitching a shutout. In my opinion, it's a calculated strategy to take an under after a shutout because we always know about offensive teams, right? Like, oh, they scored 5 here, 6 there. We know about offensive chemistry flowing. We know about power play chemistry flowing. Nobody ever talks about defensive chemistry. And I always believed after a shutout, it's a great time to look at unders. So
There's certainly some subjectivity in the matter. You can just go across and say even the opposing offense is going to be, when they do their video stuff to get ready, they're going to be like, oh, he's coming off a shutout. So just even that idea of like, okay, let's just get more pucks on the net, which is usually what happens when you face a hot goalie, maybe can take you out of your offensive rhythm. But in that same sense, you also get a goalie who is focused, which is obviously good and in the zone. Defensive structure, I'm sure there's less risk involved, some risk mitigation, puck in, retreat back in that sense. So, but I'll certainly ask him if it was somewhat within the locker room and talking about it during
well,
games.
it's not even so much, hey guys, he's got a shutout back there. I think it's just like more of a subconscious thing. Like you don't
Yeah,
want to be the one to blow it. You don't want to be the guy who made it.
yeah,
We haven't let up a game. When you get to the end of the first, it's like, okay, people start noticing 4 periods. You don't want to be that guy to blow it. You pinched. You pinched to make it a 4-on-3. Then they came back the other way on a 2-on-1
yeah,
and scored.
yeah.
Just
You
a
don't want to be
random
that guy.
theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
No,
I just think it's natural. It's just natural psychology involved with that. But I guess we'll see. So this Buffalo Blackhawks game, they are coming off that shutout, and I guess you're skewing towards
it wasn't a
some
great
unders.
game offensively for Buffalo. Let 3-0 win over San Jose. It was 1-0 for a while. I mean, in that game, the total was something I wanted yesterday before it got snowed out. It was a back-to-back for Chicago. The weather conditions were terrible. Probably nobody was going to the game because of the travel situations. And now it's opened up at the same number on the total of -105 to the under. I think I'm off it. I think in this spot, I was looking for the other game yesterday in that spot just to take any Chicago forward under, right? Like Phil
Yeah.
Kurshev's playing on the top line. I think he's playing with Radish and Rem Pitlick, if anybody knows who those guys are. But in that spot, like -120 for them not to record a point, they're only going to score 2 points. You mentioned it to your audience yesterday that those are good spots where you're like, okay, I don't trust the Sabres at -285, so let's find another alternative to fade Chicago, and that's the spot. I mean, the team total under 2.5 is probably about -165, -170. So -120 for Philip Kurashev, who's a guy who doesn't score every other game, but is implied 50%. It's probably a good spot there.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about when he's looking at all the players and the percentages. This is a part of my game that I need to develop, and I go to Josh frequently when it comes to player props, so I don't have to always trust intuition and things like that. All right, so if we can look at that next one. Now, this is one, the Avalanche-Bruins, when two teams face each other, within like a week or so, you had the Avalanche win a squeaker at home. I don't know if they're getting any of those injured players back, but the Avalanche are one. I call them, I call them the guy that like girls like to date, the emotional roller coaster team that like, they're going to make you enjoy it. I don't want to go to dinner and a movie. You don't do anything fun. Well, the Avalanche are going to let you have some fun. They're going to go down 3, then they'll be up 6-3 against
Yeah.
Dallas. The down 2 in Dallas again, a second time, win in overtime, down 3 against Toronto on the road, win that one, down 2 last game, win that one. So you bet against them at your own peril because you're thinking, my God, they're missing Nichushkin now. They didn't have Lehkonen. Byram's not in there. Those top 2 defensemen have to eat all this time. They're not even at home where they can get the change they want. This is not a good spot for them. And it wasn't a good spot for them, yet they just come back like maniacs. But my overall philosophy is you give me a good defense at home where they can navigate the matchups against a good offense. I did this with the Bruins against the Devils the other night. I'm leaning towards Boston in this game.
I think you're in the right spot there with Boston. -148 might be steep, but you kind of touched on what Colorado is, that exciting guy. But like there's you pay the price for being with an exciting guy, and that's what Colorado is. Like they blew the lead 2 games ago in the third period, and this is a team. What you want from an over team, and you get it with the Leafs a lot, is a team that can go into the fourth period down 4-2 and get 2 goals quickly, and that's what Colorado can do. I really like this over at plus money at plus 102. Swayman is not a Vezina goalie right now. you say it's a good structured team, but last year we know that Boston was bailed out heavily by Allmark in a lot of games. Combined over the last 10 games, both of these teams 14-6 to the over. So both teams playing solid over hockey, which I like. I mean, there's not a lot to like about Colorado after that top line. It gets pretty ugly. I think it's like Ross, Colton, and O'Connor, and there's not much. So you get elite scoring talent at 20 minutes a pop, and if it's trailing, that goes to 22 minutes. And this is a situation where Boston's kind of gone all in on their top line too. Now that you got Marchand and Pasternak together on that top line, if you're trying to put together points, and Charlie Coyle's on that line, if you're really looking for stuff, I mean, that trio right there to probably, if you can parlay points in that situation, Colorado's not a team that's defending well or keeping pucks out of their net. Those three guys, they're on that top line. They're on PP1. If you're looking for some plus money plays, those guys together is a good spot.
We can here on this. So I'm pretty sure. So Alex, if you can go to player props to the right. I'm sorry, you have to click same game parlay at the top, the green one. Okay, then if you go to the player points, and then
so you probably won't get much for Marchand. Okay, so in that situation, there's Charlie Coyle. Put Charlie Coyle -125. A great price. I think that's the best price on the board for Charlie Coyle right there. Click on that over. Click on that one, and then you're being trouble because now we're at 1.5 in that situation.
There are sites though. I've told them about sites that offer every they know, like they can go to Bet Rivers, Bally Bet. There are a few that will give you the 1 point combinations.
Exactly. You can go to at Bet365. You can go to the milestones and hit the 1 point. And so you could get probably Charlie Coyle, or I'm sure there's probably more value on Marchand than Pasternak, who's going to.
And I know what the viewers are thinking right now. They're adding 2 points for Makar. They're adding 2 points for Marchand.
I crushed the 2 point parlay a while ago for like a good 4 figures, and now the 2 point parlays, they're gone. Like I got when Morgan Geekie was on top line with Pasternak, I was getting Geekie and Pasta each 2 points for plus 1,000.
Oh, and now I think maybe me and you, we orchestrated the downfall, because I told, if you can correctly guess, I mean, they're still there. You just got to be sneaky with them.
There's a sneaky one in Calgary. Elias Lindholm and Sharon Govich together is like plus 1,000. But for the part, like if you put Trocheck with Panarin together, you're getting like plus 250 in some spots.
Yeah, that's classic Oilers syndrome, where they're just too good and the prices ain't getting you anything. All right, so if we can pop out of this one. And what's next on the? And by the way, we happen to show you DraftKings. There probably are slightly better prices on all these things that we're showing you. As you know, they vary by book and whatnot. Dallas has been a weird team for me. It's Andre. He's back, but I remember before he left,
he wasn't
yeah. So take a guy who wasn't playing well. Now he's coming back after an injury.
Sorokin syndrome.
Yes, correct. So this one, the only thing I would kind of feel semi-comfortable with here, as long as we're getting the top goalies. I know you really don't. I don't think you mostly do this. You post the lines that are listed, but the only thing I really would get myself involved with is like an under 6.5 here potentially. But this game doesn't really. The Flyers, the way they play, they really can win any game under Tortorella, and I've just seen such variance with the Stars this year, and I don't know how to handle do. I used to consider them one of my under teams because they had a reliable defensive game, but they're getting in wacky games this year, and they kind of worry me a little bit.
Highest scoring offense since the break at over 4 goals per game. Defensively, metric wise, if you're a nerd and you're looking at like expected goals against per 60 at 5-on-5 over a 20 game sample, they're one of the best in the league. Like if they could get good goaltending right now with Ottinger back, they could be up there with the Winnipeg area of maybe the top 2 best teams in the West. It is interesting if you do look at that money line, how the books are valuing Dallas here at -135 as a road favorite with no schedule spot. Philly didn't play yesterday, obviously. Plus 114 is not a lot of respect for Philadelphia, but I'm not running out to bet that. Don't get me wrong. It's probably a Sam Ersson start because Carter Hart's just been in the dumps too, but it's going to show you if Ottinger isn't back, then the value you can bet against Dallas because the books are slightly overvaluing Dallas right now. But this is a prime game that just 5 minutes of looking at top lines. Wyatt Johnson's jumped up to that top line with Rupi Hintz and Jason Robertson. He's not playing on them PP1, but I mean, if we jump up there to player points and take a look at those markets, there's a couple spots in this games with just guys betting on opportunity. Like Jason Robertson, minus 200 for a point. Okay, Pavelski's moved down to the third line. He might be a shot at under 0.5 in that spot if you like unders.
I really like that, by the way, for anyone who's listening. Pavelski on the road on a third line. You just got to deal with those high tips on the power play.
Oh God, yeah.
That's plus money right there. If the Flyers score first, God, do I feel so much more comfortable in so many of like the unders and things like that, because once you get to that midway point in the game, as I talked about not being the one to blow it, you don't want that Tortorella stare on the bench. And as you see a lot when they go on the road, like when they went up on Seattle and they went up on Vancouver, they really can lock it down when they choose to.
They're a tough team to match four lines against to anybody, and they're fresh and they get 12 minutes out of their fourth line. Like it's not a fun team to play against. If we scroll down a bit more, if we can find Wyatt Johnson who jumps into that, he'll be down the bottom. It's always nice when they're at the bottom, right?
Yeah, that means they're hiding it from you.
plus 120 for a point. Goal and assist with 4 shots on goal last game in that 5-1 win versus the Kings, I believe. And that line dominated, 78% expected goal percentage. And this is a spot where Dallas has won 7 straight meetings. I don't love that in a handicap, but it's always nice to have. And this is just the number one offense. So you're getting a player on the top line, number one offense at plus money just to get a point. And with Hintz and Robertson on that line, it's a pretty bang up job. And Sean Couturier, if he doesn't come back in this spot, Philly's loaded up that top line with Konechny and Owen Tippett on the two sides. And right now, Couturier he's not IR, so he could come back at any moment. But if we click on Morgan Frost, there he is above Tippett. If this guy comes in, you can get him for a point. Plus 124 for a guy that could be centering the top line and PP. I believe he's on PP2, but he could be PP1. There's a spot to like. And like you said, Ottinger has been inconsistent. And he's played a lot of these things. Like if you're trying to figure out where the books come up with this price, a lot of it has to do with there he is at that top line. If we scroll down and see PP1, it would be sweet if he's there. No, okay, they got Scott Lawton up there.
It's all right. So we call this the Brandon Hagel. We trust that top line is so loaded with talent that he's playing with Point and Kucherov. Now I'm not going to put them at Point and Kucherov because to me that's the premier. You can't get better. It's 100. You can match it, but they're 100 out of 100 on the talent scale. And you're hoping for that trickle down point for Hagel, probably 5-on-5. But is he at least on the second power play unit?
He is. He's centered in the second power play unit. And if you need to know stuff about power plays, like that Lightning's power play is 75%, 20%, 1-2, right? Philadelphia is more of a 50-50 split, so they won't get the first one, which is big because you get that first offensive zone faceoff immediately with the power play. But he'll do get some time, and this is a spot where I think if Couturier is out, plus 124 is incredible value.
And what Josh just said is something that I've never really talked about too much. I've only talked about it when betting the under on a player point. I've always said look for somebody on that second power play unit, and it was always understood that somebody on a second power play unit that's on one of these ones that he's talking about, like the Lightning. Many elite power play units, the Rangers, the Leafs, the Avalanche, they're running the top unit out there for 90 to 100 seconds. And then that second unit comes on, they dump the puck in and the penalty expires. That's really what happens. Yeah. And then I got people telling me that Devon Toews was not a good power play player on the Islanders because he got 20 seconds on the second unit. But that's a whole separate argument for another day. There's definitely some value anytime you get those line promotions. That was 2 of them right there. Canadiens, Ottawa. Some of these Ottawa point producers.
Are you running out to bet Ottawa minus 185 right now?
No, but I certainly am not. But
track me.
I mean. I try not to just think in terms of like values on straight bets because I know how average people think. Like if somebody really trusts Claude Giroux to get a point, they'll sprinkle him in with something like a heavy favorite that they like to make their quote unquote like bet for the day,
Yeah.
something like that. So I don't mind if some prices are not so good if we think there's a really good shot that they'll hit. And I think some of those top players on Ottawa at home facing this Canadiens team coming in, like, the Devils had their fair share of chances yesterday and more. And I would imagine with Ottawa, it will be like, yeah, they'll concede, but they'll get theirs as well. And him and Kachuk, they've kind of been operating.
There's a spot there. There's a few spots there. So Montreal, we don't know who the goalie is yet, and they're a weird team that's carrying 3 goalies right now. The Sam Montembeault played last night, so we could see Jake Allen, who made a ton of stops in his last start, or Caden Primo. Both I kind of like, but we could see this total hit 7. Once that total hits 7, you're going to lose a bit of the value on the player points. But you mentioned if you want a guy to sprinkle, if you think Ottawa is going to beat Montreal, who played last night, 3-2 win over New Jersey in New Jersey. I mean, the top line right now, Kachuk, Giroux, and if we slide down a bit, if we go down to Ridley Gregg, 22-year-old kid there who's playing for Josh Norris, even money for a point, it's that same spot. Like it doesn't take a lot of time to handicap a lot of this. This is a guy he's not on either power play, which is something we don't get. But Montreal's awful 5-on-5. And in this spot, 2 goals last game, 5 points over his last 4 playing with the top guys. Like, you don't have to be good when you're playing with Giroux or Kachuk. Like a secondary assist is fine. You can take a puck. You can take a puck off the wiener that goes in the net, and that's still a goal. Like, it just has to touch you.
That's it. The wiener secondary assist. Man, I haven't dropped that one in a long time. The wiener secondary for all you guys out there, but really this is a huge, like this whole slate is teaching you how important trickle-down snakeonomics is. I mean, look at every single one of these plays. This is Jonathan Drouin, but it's the early part of the season. And eventually, if these lines remain, the prices will catch up and you're getting ahead of it before it does. I mean, I believe he had a couple of points in the last game. And he was involved in a few of those goals.
Like,
yeah. So it's like the opportunities are going to be there. I mean, anytime you're with that top line, we don't think these players are necessarily going to be great. But if you have James Van Riemsdyk, who's just let off of Philadelphia, they for shekels. Oh, who are you putting me with, coach? Am I back on the 4th line again like Philly? No, you're actually going to be with Pasternak on the top power play. Okay, thank you very much, Sportsbooks. We will take that plus money to start the year, which is exactly what he was.
Just stay in front of the net, right? It's like Drouin doesn't do anything on that power play with Colorado. It's Makar, Rantanen, and McKinnon on the sideboards and at the point snapping around. If it goes around, him or Ross Colton will touch the puck. But it's just like stay in front of the net, bang something in, pop up if the puck goes low. And you don't really have to do much, but the opportunity.
Surprising how ineffective Ryan Johansson has been. Colorado's great at sneaking players from other teams, but my God, they tried him on the top unit for most of the year, and it was not working out. So
before we jump off that, Slafkovsky's a great price too. Same vein. Before we go in there, I'm seeing plus 110 in some spots. It might be a little better here, but this is just a point. Yeah, plus 110. So plus 110, you're getting a game that will probably have a closing total of 7. Montreal's implied team total is somewhere around 3. It's Slafkovsky, Suzuki, Caulfield, top line, PP1 versus an Ottawa team that can't defend, has the 2nd worst penalty kill in hockey behind San Jose. There's a lot to like in that situation. He's starting to heat up.
Yep. Once again, guy, top line, playing with Caulfield, and you're getting plus money.
There's a trend there. That's it.
Yeah, honestly, if you're Fred Flintstone watching this video, you should understand it by now. Like, if you're still scratching your head, like, I don't understand what they're saying. There's 2 stars on a line. They shoved your friend who doesn't play hockey as the 3rd member. That's the guy you want to bet on. We know you don't want to. You don't know his name. You don't even watch SportsCenter. But that's the guy you want to bet. And that site that we keep pulling up, Daily Faceoff, that will show you the most recent projected line combination. So that's how you can do that. I love how I'm yelling at you guys, even though you didn't say anything at any point about this. All right. So now the next one I saw was Wild at the Lightning.
Yeah.
I'm going to discount the Wild win against the Isles. The Isles just, I believe every NHL team has about 7 mail-ins a year where they go, we're not playing tonight. Nope, we're not doing it. And you just have to avoid them like the game of Minesweeper. You just have to hope you didn't bet on that team that mails it in for a night. So I'm not going to overvalue that Minnesota win, but I will say this: Lightning playing well at home. I mean, couple overtime wins there. Then they convincingly beat the Ducks. They're still at home on this homestand. They got themselves right back into the playoff race. I like what I'm seeing from them. What did you mention about Vasilevsky before?
Oh, nothing. Just that I was on his under 36.5 wins early in the season. Like he's been playing like he's not the Vasilevsky of old, but he's better than an average.
I think you may have. I could be crazy. I think you may have just had a mistakenly said saves. So I was like, is he talking about tonight?
No, I didn't.
But,
Didn't touch on that. Minnesota's probably happy though, as you mentioned. They were home. Islanders were in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
So
and then Winnipeg. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a spot where Minnesota goes from shit weather to cold, obviously, to now being in the Florida sun. Lightning have been home for that long. There's always players that you just go to. Like I have to wake up and like find bets and put them out there. And there's one. I mean, it was amazing when Kirill Kaprizov wasn't playing, and a guy like Matt Zuccarello, who was paying like plus 180 not to get a point when Minnesota couldn't score. He's probably still the same price, which is the value is down, but there's always those guys that I think books are overvalued. And Matt Zuccarello for a point is constantly it. I know plus 165. So based on merit, knowing that was the same price I was getting without Kaprizov, I probably won't play it. But there's guys like that who are under 0.5 for plus 165, which is, if you're looking at the board, like that's trying to find a comparison. That's a longer price than Montreal beating Ottawa on a back-to-back, to put it into perspective.
That's a great point. So what I try to do, like, to me, the Pavelski one is that's a prime opportunity. The way Tampa plays, they'll give you some, but they're going to get some, especially at home. So this is not one I would be excited for this specific game. But if this game was happening like in Winnipeg or any sort of defensive team that I trust, and Minnesota was still on the road, I wouldn't be scared to rip it. But it's just,
I'm not playing it, and I'm not mentioning playing it. Just pay attention to those unders, those big plus money under for 0.5 points.
Yep, absolutely. Out of curiosity, actually, never. I was wondering how high Hedman's points have come as they started the year at like minus 115, minus 120. Let's see what we've got to. All right. At least it's back under 200. But they've tried using Sergachev on that power play. I don't know if Sergachev is still injured, but he just,
I think he's
he's not the same. He's not the same. And Hedman for a while there, he was my way to cash in on Lightning games. But all right, we can move on from there.
When those things are gone, like when you have something like that, and then your edge dries up, it does suck.
I will say this to those out there: I like the Lightning at home in that game.
There you go.
All right, next we. Did I just skip? No, I didn't skip any. Okay, so Blues Capitals. I kind of told you how I feel about that.
5.5. Ugh.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Now, I never really until the playoffs. I don't really suggest. I don't suggest under 5.5s too often. So with this game, knowing how most people bet, I would tell them to take the under 6.5. And I just know, like, this is an example where they would take that with Claude Giroux. There's their bet. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's kind of how I give that out. I'd be scared for the under 5.5, but I would totally green light the 6.5 if you need something to throw into your mix.
Yeah, I don't know. In the mix in that spot, the under's tough. Like, so if you do add something, like if you do add a small player over plus the full game under, you should be getting a multiplier that correlates adding a point to an under total, right? Like,
that will jack it up. But
exactly.
I specifically wasn't not in the same game variety. I was saying if people had like a guy like Giroux from the other game.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I said last night, like, yes, I liked Detroit plus 1.5. I do like Brandon Montour to get a point, but don't put those two together, because if Florida's up by 1, I don't want to need the Brandon Montour point and now Detroit to score more. So, yeah, don't bet against yourself if you're combining things, if that makes sense to you people.
And it should, but at least be aware of the multiplier you're getting. Like, so last year in baseball, I was doing a lot of over outs, under strikeouts, over strikeouts, under outs, because I thought they were too correlated, and you get a monster multiplier. Obviously, they caught up and they've erased that, but just know what you're getting if you are in fact doing that. It's not smart, but if they're giving you more than it should be, then it's still plus EV. But in this sense,
Yeah, Alex, let's build one for the people. I forgot, haven't really given them enough. So basically, what he's saying is you get a higher payout if you take an under.
so let's go Strom over points,
Yes, exactly.
and then a full game under 5.5. So you have two lines. It should come out to about plus 300 true odds. So you should be getting,
Boom.
yeah. Okay. So there's your multiplier.
Alex, switch it, and show them what it would be if you take the over. Because if there's an over and points are going, look at that. Yeah. So that's what he means.
Are getting a multiplier, but like know that it's there. You're betting against yourself, and the multiplier in most cases usually isn't enough for that situation. But I mean, 460 something's there. Like, just pay attention to it. That's all.
Yeah, and I just want to let you know, I don't hate that one, because you know my philosophy about a team on their own home ice after that shutout. If they're running the same squad out there, same lines, I wouldn't. I don't a trickle. Don't put your kids' tuition on it. I don't mind a trickle on that bet we just had up there. All right, now we can go to the next one, which on the docket was Kraken-Oilers. What's with these Oilers unders? You want to help me out on that front? Everyone's yelling at me about them.
They're still overvalued incredibly to score, and there's no, like, there's a coincidence that they're playing good hockey and they're cashing unders. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you're shit and you hit overs. Like, that's what happens. The 6.5 is tough here, but that's a Kraken too. Like, the Kraken are one of the few teams now that Joey Decort's playing like a stud. One of the few teams that, like, Washington will get 5.5 lines. So you're getting like a team that books are projecting to score the most goals per game, basically because of the offense in Edmonton, and a Seattle team that projects to probably suppress goals at one of the better rates. I mean, if you're looking for dogs, one of my favorite things about betting a dog, get a goalie that can win you a game. Joey Decort, if he's in net tonight, plus 180. I mean, Edmonton just came off the Toronto game. There was a lot of hype over the Matthews McDavid matchup. This could be a letdown spot. Edmonton, I don't know. Yeah. It's plus 180.
They love dogs. They start drooling like dogs when dogs get brought up, and that is an absolute spot that you can definitely take the Kraken. The Kraken, as I call them, the cockroaches. They're a tough team to play against.
100%. And there's like those teams you have, Andy, that you're like, I don't have a feel for this team because they keep proving me wrong constantly. And that's Seattle. Unless you're betting unders, they're just a team that's hard to play against. They're like Philly.
That's kind of my teams who you never really hear out of my name. I'm just a little, do I believe this? Do I not believe this? Arizona and Calgary, to me, like, I know we're seeing this, every team in the year has their two stretches where they look like world beaters. Anaheim looked like world beaters on their first road trip this year. And I don't know if Calgary's in the midst of one of those, or they're actually not as bad as we thought, or whatnot. Arizona had a great stretch, but then all of a sudden you can see, I mean, they can lose. When you're losing 5-2 to the Isles on your own home ice, that's not good, or 5-1 or whatever. So, like, yeah, there are teams. It's tough for me to gauge certain bets on them.
No, Seattle's one. Jerry McCann's back. He's in the top line. Eberle's on that top line too. Bjorkstrand's a guy they always have as a high point guy, but he plays his 5-on-5 on the third line. He does get PP1, but
who did they put in Dunn's place?
What's that?
Who did they put in Dunn's place?
What, on the PP1?
Yeah.
Bring it up.
This is look at Alex. Crazy. That is quick.
Schultz, McCann at the back. So McCann just came back, so it would have been McCann probably in that spot.
Gotcha.
But if we go up, so if that's the power play unit. If, like, when I was heavily betting like 2 points, like, grab a guy who plays on the same 5-on-5 line and a guy who plays on power play 1 together. Like, this is a hard team to do because they're all like Wenberg, Schwartz,
Yeah.
Bjorkstrand. Like, there's not.
That's the cockroaches. That's why they're you don't know. They
Yeah,
just go out there and they're
yeah.
interchangeable parts. Hey,
They're
you're
tough to
down on
predict.
line 3. Nah,
Yeah,
you're on top line tonight, and none of you are gonna have over 30 goals. See you the next week.
yeah. Here's
Um,
15 minutes for all 9 of you.
yeah. All right. Let's flip down to the next one. Who do they got listed for us? We got Leafs, Calgary. Do we have potential ruckus in this game? Can this one be a wild one?
Toronto in the middle of their crappy West Coast road trip started off in Edmonton the other night, got the loss, 4 straight losses. Then they go here. That was 2 days ago. They play tonight. Then they play Saturday in Vancouver, then Sunday in Seattle. So it's a pretty crappy road stretch. The only thing I pulled out of this game because, I mean, it's like betting baseball. Like, the Yankees are overpriced. I mean, or soccer, Bayern Munich's overpriced. Like, you have to pay a tax to bet on these teams. You still have to do with Toronto and all their guys. But in this spot, Mackenzie Weegar jumps up from PP2 to PP1,
There
and
you go.
he's plus 500 for a power play point.
Wow.
And the Leafs got a bottom 3 PK over the last, like, since the Christmas break. So there's a lot playing into it.
These are bunker bets, ladies and gentlemen. That's good. I like that one. All right, let's flip down. Who is under that? Next up, we got. Oh,
There you go. There's your
Don't
cockroach.
ask me.
Yeah,
Don't ask me.
I have nothing in the same spot too. But
That's
like,
it. I don't want to talk about it. I got nothing to say. Let's go down to Rangers. Rangers Knights. Knights still don't have Jack Eichel, right?
they can't score. Yeah. Aiden Hill still out right now. I don't know if he's in. Logan Thompson's in. Aiden Hill's still on the roster. They haven't put him on IR. They see it keeps coming back, but they're not sure. It is telling that the books have finally flipped on Vegas here in this spot as their home dogs, be plus 110. This is a spot where I think if this opened up as a pick'em, you'd have value on the Rangers, but I think this is the right spot.
Yeah, I'm not taking the Rangers here because if you've watched their recent stretch, they're coming off back-to-back wins. They were not convincing back-to-back wins, and they were losing a bunch before. They blew a 2-0 lead to Washington. They're not playing their best hockey, that's for certain. And what worries me is that the Golden Knights with Bruce Cassidy, they know that they're not scoring at the moment. So you're gonna get efforts from them like last game. They're gonna try to get up and default to the type of game they can play. They can play a very defensive game when need be. And don't be surprised if they get up that it's hard for the Rangers. But then, the Rangers have an undefendable power play these last couple of seasons. So yeah, a lot of
I'd be more surprised with a 5-2 Rangers win than like a Vegas 3-2 win.
Correct. And then the last one is actually, if I had to pick a team on the night to win, I'm going with the Kings. I'm going with the Kings.
We're on the opposite ends of the spectrum here.
Good. Who cares? What happens? I mean, if our lives were on the line, it might be bad. But all right, hey, loser has to get the other guy a new garbage can so they don't have to steal it from their neighbors.
But I stole a shitty one. It had no wheels. I'm pretty sure mine had wheels. So like, if someone knocks on my door, I'm just gonna have to
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles gray old 1985 Oscar the Grouch garbage can.
I'm not going out and buying another damn garbage can. It's just the point. I set out 2 garbage cans and I come out there and there's one there. So I don't know.
Wait a minute. Do people buy garbage cans?
I don't know. I don't trust the people who live on the
I've
street.
never thought about garbage cans my entire life. Does it have to be purchased? Do you go to Home Depot and say, 1 large garbage can, please, and then put it?
100%.
I can never remember my mom bringing home a garbage can.
Giant garbage cans probably run you $50. Yes. See, like they're not cheap. Alex, stud move here.
Oh my God!
Maybe I'll get that park one there at $5.99.
That cafeteria, the cafeteria can. All right,
but like $100, like you're like
top rated. Who's rating this? Who's going on this website and rate? Oh, let me tell you guys, I've thrown some things away in my time, but this.
Yeah, Alex, if you got a moment, Alex, hit one of the lowest graded lowest reviewed garbage cans, and let's see what people are saying here.
Well, it's a scam. Home Depot's not going to allow anything but 5-star reviews on their cans. I mean, these are all, when you do it on the website,
There you go.
I don't even know if I trust Google. You know, they're paying some click farm somewhere. Oh, yeah, look at this. Every can's a 5-star can. Every can is a Brad Pitt here. They're all Academy Award winning garbage cans. All right, now let's go back onto our disagreement. I'll tell Josh what I think. I've been looking at these losses. Other than that last loss against Dallas, I think you forecasted that one back to back. Not a great spot for them. Some of their previous losses on the road against Florida had them down 59 minutes into the game, 2-1. So they're playing that type of Kings hockey that I like to see. Tampa Bay held them to 1 goal through 59 minutes and 30 seconds of there. Had that win 2-1. Had the 2-0 lead. I trust that a team like the Kings is going to iron out those defensive mistakes and coming home against a team who, if they can get up on, I don't trust that team's ability. Although I know teams have been doing it against the Kings are a team with high aspirations. This is a borderline, and it's not a must-win game. This is a game that I believe they will push not to lose. Like I talked about those mail-in efforts. A mail-in effort can come when your team is just, oh yeah, we're doing fine. Kings are not on a run of success by any stretch of the imagination. They've lost like 8 of 9. It's something crazy. But to me, it all depends how you're playing. The Kings' play has not dipped, in my opinion. Just like you said, hockey is a bounce here, a bounce there. And they've hit a bad parlay. And I think in the end, quality wins. And that's what I'm expecting tonight. And if I'm wrong,
it's a valid point. A team this good cannot, like, it's tough to see them go 1-9 straight up in their last 10. Like, that's really improbable to do. But like on my spot, I know there's some plus 130s out there. I probably wouldn't get it at plus 124, but plus 130, Nashville. I get Saros, who, I mean, he's been crap. He's been great. He's stolen games. I'm happy. At least I get an okay goalie that can win me plus money. LA, first game back from a road trip is always a tough one. You come home, if Carlos taught me something, like you come home 6 days on the road, like you have responsibilities to come home to. The wife's like, you need to do this, you need to do that. We need to send a card, like life stuff,
I like
right?
this
like
one. I like this one. I've never talked about this.
Yeah, coming home and like coming home from road trip, you're like free, and like you come home, you're like, Daddy, I miss you. Let's spend some time together. Okay,
that's actually really funny. Yeah, you know, usually we say, I don't know, I don't like betting on a team after a long road trip, and you just assume it's like random exhaustion and stuff. No, it's they got to do stuff for the kid. They got to take the kid to practice. That's actually pretty funny. All right, since we got to go soon, I just want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Had a great time. I really enjoy your show. And anybody who's watching, if there's one thing I've built up, it's some credibility. If you really like betting and you see all the analysis, it's way more X's and O's than, screw the Capitals, I'm taking the other team. So it would really benefit you if you're a hockey guy. He's not going to say the Islanders defense is unbelievable. What I'll do at the end of this video, I'll put his YouTube channel. It should click up or should pop up and you can click on it and go right there. Definitely check it out. It will be worth your time. Thank you so much, man, for coming on, and I'm sure we'll do it again.
And hats off to you and your community, man. You're building something here. Like you're giving them a good product. You're telling them the right things. It's a great thing to see, because as you mentioned at the top of the show, there's a lot of fluff out there. And like, it's nice to see you put in the time and deliver a product that people want to watch. So hats off to you, pal. Anytime you need me to jump on, I'm here for you, pal.
Yeah, we need more in the hockey game, man. We need more people to come through, because as I can tell, people who you would have never expected, like I never watched hockey a day in my life. I'm going to a Red Wings game next week. And we need more of that, man. And if you want to pump your company, this is just on my channel. You could gas up anybody you want.
Tags everywhere. No, I mean, your handicap should start at sites like covers.com for sure. Like, go to the menu, go to the matchup menu. Like that's where my handicaps start too. You go see the last 10, go see those matchups, go see the head-to-heads, go see the prop bets that are there too, the projections. Go see we have a cool thing that has like a preview thing. We've kind of gotten out of the world where we don't read like all the beat reporters' actual game stuff, but there's a lot of subjective stuff that's in there. Like, like John Tavares is playing in his 1000th game. Like, those are things that mean something to players.
They need a new name. I was just thinking about this yesterday. Beat reporters need a new name. When I think about a beat reporter, I think about somebody with like an old school voice. Like, we're here live giving the beat reports. I mean, it just doesn't feel the same when it's like a influencer on TikTok, you know, taking selfies with Brad Marchand. Yeah. But, you know, yeah, the beat reporters definitely are. Sorry to cut you off. I was just thinking that yesterday.
Yeah, press with a little press piece of paper in their hat. Yeah. I appreciate it though, Andy. No, but yeah, just, I don't know, like you said, be smart, take some time, make smart bets. You don't have to tail people constantly because it's your money at the end of the day. And there's nothing worse than losing on someone else's bet and then just being angry at them, even though it was your money. Like,
of course,
take self-responsibility, make smart bets, learn from it, get better, and find edges.
I tell everybody, sniff your own way. That's what you got to do, because you can live with that more. It's way easier to live with your own loss than somebody else's. So I'll be back with you tomorrow for a normal show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And thank you once again, Josh, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Cheers.